and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the Motorsport Australia Formula 4 Cup. This is round number 6, coming to you live from the German flyover race at Hockenheim. My name will be Scott Rankin for this evening, alongside of Dave Roberts on our commentary crew, and Luke from Race Stars TV on the production crew. And I tell you what, this race, only a couple of years ago, hosted Formula One's race of the decade. Now tonight, can it be the Formula 4 race of the season? The drivers will be completely and utterly in control of that, Dave, and Formula 4 action, we know it's going to be a pack fest, and it's going to take a wise head to get the job done around here.
Yeah, we've got a bit smaller field tonight, but it's all quality, so I'm sure we'll see some really good racing. I see Benny Roberts is sitting there, fastest in qualifying, ahead of Damon Woods, which is unusual.
Always good to throw the cat amongst the pigeons, and sometimes I think, see, the problem I have with it, Dave, is if you're sitting alone up at the front, by the way, those lap times between those top two, that's actually a really good point to point out, identical. There is not, whether it's down to the 10,000 of a second between those two drivers. So that's what it's come down to, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of qualifying thus far. 2.5 minutes left on the board. 39.0 just coming in from Jack Mara out of 5th place at the moment. He is 12 thousandths away from, 13 thousandths away from jumping into the 38.999s. That's how tight the field is. It is only going to be 2.5 tenths that cover that top 5. And as usual, Formula 4s, there's not much between them. There's not a whole bunch of wiggle room in terms of setups. It comes down to drivers' natural ability, Dave.
Yeah, these cars, there's not a lot in the setup, really. Whether a good setup, a bad setup, doesn't make a hell of a lot of difference. It's there isn't really any difference. It's just the setup is the setup. But the drivers, it just shows you how close the quality of the drivers is when you look at that and you say, we've got 8 tenths covering the top 12 of 14 drivers. That's just phenomenal. And the two guys at the back will set the time yet. Yeah, and the other side of that coin is, at the end of the day, if you say it's 8 tenths around a shorter circuit like Sandown, well, that's obviously a lot less interesting. But in terms of things here at Hockenheim, that was the moment we just saw on board for Riley McKibben. 8 tenths covering that many cars around 100-second lap time is, that's, you're finding up a tenth of a second every 10 seconds or so. That's the difference between the drivers. There is absolutely nothing in this. A lot of long straights here at Hockenheim too, so there's going to be a lot of opportunity for that draft pack and when to pull the trigger. What have we seen thus far from our competitors, Dave? In practice, I got here a bit late, so I wasn't really looking at times and having a bit of setup issue, but from what I saw, pretty much what we've got on screen now.
In terms of the season thus far, it's been tight, it's been trial, it's been a tribulation, as these things tend to be. 40 seconds left on the timer, which means you've got to be at the tail end of your lap, and indeed there is only the one car circulating out there at the moment. It is going to be McKibben. 4 laps, the maximum number of allowable laps to be set within the 15-minute qualifying session.
And he's lost it.
Yeah, rear end gets away from him. So that will be the end of qualifying. In 15 minutes time, that will set the grid. But I can't believe we're saying this. Over 1 minute, 38 seconds and 764 thousandths of a second. 2 drivers tied for pole position. Albeit Damon Woods will be taken from 2nd place.
Well, the front, there's not much in the front row, let's put it that way. And I will say there at the back of the grid, Aidan Coote, he's a withdrawal. He's had some pedal issues and equipment issues tonight in practice and has withdrawn from the race. So if you're wondering what happened to Aidan, that's what the story is. He never actually put in a lap of qualifying.
And that is going to be the grid here tonight. Benjamin Roberts will grab it for simrigs.com DPR alongside of Damon Woods, Door Esports with identical times. Which side of the grid would you pick? I don't think these guys had the choice. Caleb Hides for Eclipse Sim Sport and Philip Worley will make up row number 2, the simrigs.com DPR teammate of our pole sitter, Jack Moreau, and Scott Bartine for Scuderia DSR and Virtual Motorsport Mentor. Damien Cairns and Alex Court, Accelerate Sim Racing, and Alex Court, the 2nd of the Virtual Motorsport Mentor entries. Nick Bottrell, the 3rd of the VMM Esports drivers, and Paul Rogers in 10th, before we move it back to 11th place for Jack Humphreys and Caleb Dawson before we'll throw it back the page to the back end of the grid. Brody Tressida, Anthony Mazoka, Riley McKibben, and Aiden Cook rounded out. Unsure if Aiden will take the start of this race. We'll keep half an eye on that developing story as it progresses. 15 minutes here in terms of race trim. Will not hit the 15 lap distance before we move into race number 2, and I am set for a Formula 4 start. You're not a huge fan of these engines, so I hear, Dave, but we've got different opinions on that.
I'm not a huge fan of the car, the engine, or anything about it, but that's me.
But then again, what's your thoughts on the Formula 3?
They've got aero. They haven't got enough power for the aero. I don't think you'll learn a lot driving one of these. And yeah, they're aero restricted. Everyone runs the wings dead flat. In real life, you run the wings dead flat because you put the wing up. They haven't got enough power to overcome it. So interesting cars. They seem to be very, very popular in Europe. They're looking at bringing them back here in Australia. I'm not sure they work here, but hey, that's not my choice.
Well, it's going to be a 15-minute fiesta to start us off here this evening from Hockenheim. The engines will start to rise. Green flag is in the air. Lights are off. And the run down to turn number 1. It is going to be the better restart there for Benjamin Roberts off the front row. Damon Woods will be forced to slot back in behind. It's going to be Caleb Hines. Worley as they shuttle through turn 1. Mara gets his way in through 5th place. And Damien Cairns is 6th. Court and Bartone, the teammates there alongside of each other, 7th, 8th. Rogers and Bottrell in 9th. Around the outside, it's going to be an attack from Damon Woods as they head their way through turn number 2 and the first of the long straights here tonight, Dave.
And now Ben will drop back into his slipstream, try and grab a toe and get him down into the hairpin. But that was a really nice move by Damon. Around the outside, kept the road speed up, because as you come out of turn 1, it goes left and you're on the inside, track position. And see, he's grabbed the track position by running down the inside here. Ben's going to try and go round the outside and do exactly what Damon did to him in turn 1 at the hairpin. Hasn't quite got the run out of the corner. So Damon very, very smart in driving there. Caleb Hines is in this as well, and he's all over the back of Ben. This is very, very close. What are we going to do? 3-4 abreast into the right-handers? Be careful, boys.
Yeah, down into the arena section, and indeed already looking to go 3 wide. Up through the inside goes Hides as he will try and snag away 2nd place, and then Damon Woods is looking to break the top. Rama in the background from Hockenheim as they make their way through turn 10 on lap number 1. 2 cars impacted down at the back there. I think there'll be Humphreys and Tressida who are dropping like rocks. Everyone else has just about got through.
Yeah, that was a bit... Brody Tressida just reporting in that for a tow, so I think that, or reporting the incident, but Damon Woods is already just stamping his authority on this race so quickly. Mazoka into the pits, obviously damaged from that incident, so Mazoka's dived into the pits, and Nick Bottrell's around again. The back, there's a bit of chaos down the back here.
Yeah, and have a look at this.
Here's a replay. I can see them all closing up, and it's an awkward little corner. It's very fast, but it tends to go from like 3 lanes to 1 lane. If you're not in that 1 lane, you can't get around the corner. So they close in on each other, as you see there, and next thing out, there's cars everywhere. And that's why Mazoka's in the pits. You saw him go up in the air, obviously right-hand suspension damage. And I can see some wings landing in the middle of the road, etc., etc. But here's Damon. Got that little bit of brake again. He's good at doing that, making that brake. And he's got his I'm going to say his tow boy close behind him there. Caleb and Damon tend to tow each other around in qualifying, and perhaps I call them a pair of tow boys. So there we go.
You've always got to come into a friend with these sorts of series. Is the way that the cars work. You cannot be left out on your lonesome. You've got to find a partner, and partnership working for the pair of them at the moment. So in the meantime, racing action will continue. And this is the view from Dawson as he lines up behind McKibben. All the way down for 9th place at the moment as they come back through onto the second half of the arena section down into turn number 12. And
so McKibben would be pretty happy with himself right now, starting 15th in the road, now running 9th.
Yeah, and 20-second penalty just coming through for incident on lap 1. We issued to Paul Rogers.
So I imagine that would normally be a drive-through. They call it 20-second penalty. It's interesting because there is it's a heat race, and the finishing order of this determines the starting order of the main race. So the boys are all over it, race control all over it as usual. Yeah, so that it has an effect of what they call, or whether it's a drive-through or a time penalty.
So this is the incident I think we're about to see that's unfolding. They're 3 wide as they get down into the hairpin. As he bounced off the curbing just a little bit, gets back to 2 wide.
That was very neat.
So it's obviously the secondary portion of it. It will actually end up being.
It's the accident. It's the big accident we saw, I'm sure. Because I think I saw the orange car in the middle of that, from what I could see, as one of the people. Oh, that was a bit of a touch.
Well, that actually, right there, that actually tells a lot of the story, because it's put Paul Rogers out in the middle of nowhere, and then the car on the outside has swooped down and in and cut off that nose cone.
Yeah, that's tough. There was a lot of people involved, a lot of cars, and unfortunately, as I said, the road really the road doesn't, the line really narrows there. So here's a dive up the inside from Caleb again, and he's really holding off these guys and letting Damon get away. He's 2 seconds up the road now, so Caleb's being quite the cork in the bottle here.
Yeah, for Benjamin Roberts, he's going to try and set this one up down into the inside of the second last corner. This will be a difficult one to pull off, but for Benjamin Roberts, he says difficulty level, done.
The trouble is that now we're going to go through the first corner. Here's Caleb up the outside, crowding him on the inside. He will take a narrow entry to make a slow exit, and Caleb will try and tow straight past him down to the next one. And these guys are all in that towing, following each other up, 3 wide. Yeah. They're not going to catch Damon this way. Damon's gone.
Is going to be Phil Worley. And I think these guys have recognised, all right, well, it's no longer on for the race lead. Well, it's going to be on for P2. And it's going to be the teammates that come into single file as they make their run down the back, straight through the Parabolica on lap number 4. And they line themselves up. They are going to be 3 wide for an attack at the hairpin.
Oh, let's try 4 wide.
4 wide shoves the nose cone. I think there was Alex Court in the background who was buying into it. Back to 3 wide.
Jack Mara.
They fold themselves, and it's Mara that gets out the other side. The 2 guys that were at the head of the train have all had to scatter. It's going to be Ben Roberts and Caleb Hides. Hides is down to 7th out of that, Dave.
Yeah, it looks like Bunnings on a Saturday morning. Everybody's diving for the hot dog.
It's just about that season where I can go and get myself a cricket club supporting hot sausage and bread at Bunnings this time of year. They'll fold themselves all back out. And on the run back down through to turn number 11, they fold themselves down and in, and this is the view from Damien Cairns and what his sim looks like. And the thing for me is, I'm just waiting for Damien Cairns just to reach over and give us a shot, because normally, the few times I've seen his cams,
I don't think he's a little busy right now. Just a little busy, Scott.
Social. He recognises when he's on camera, and he likes to give a little bit of a how you going. But for the meantime,
here we go. We'll get one, maybe one now. Now he's on the straight, maybe. There we go.
Damien always knows. Like,
we're going to say, he does in the middle of the stadium section, it's just going to be trouble.
Well, I think he's picked himself up a second slowdown that I've seen of recent memory. He's having trouble with keeping the car on the island down in turn number 1. Run wide down there, Dave. Slowdown penalty. Well, that's big in these cars.
It is. In these cars, that's suicide.
In terms of championship standings, to put it to you guys as well, Damon Woods leads the way on 410. Kalen Chin out of Wave Italy Racing Team is 366, but yeah, haven't seen him.
He's 5 seconds up the road, Scott. That's how much time these guys are losing fighting like this, you know. But he's gone. Damon's just checked out. He's flying first class, and the others are looking for their cargo.
Would you liken this to a Max Verstappen-esque effort from Damon Woods?
Oh, it's a bit of an overused term. I just think it's a brilliant bit of driving. Fabulous.
Yeah, it's going to become a bit of vogue, that term, hasn't it?
I reckon it's a bit Damon Woods rather than Max Verstappen.
The next time you guys are watching the Formula One as they make their next appearance around Qatar, consider this. You see Max Verstappen disappearing into the sunset. Oh, it's Damon Woods. That's a very Damon Woods driving around in front of the pack.
What a save. What a save.
It's going to be Mara. They've managed to crawl it out the other side, but now they're 3 wide through a corner. They can barely get through 2 wide.
There was a lot of
goes Roberts.
Big net code involved in that for Roberts, unfortunately. Because if we do see a replay of that, you'll see no one's touched him. The car's just leapt in the air, so he's got a huge net code on that. If you watch the 4th car here, the red one, You watch up here. Is it, no, the middle one in the middle there. Now watch. Suddenly, in the middle of nowhere, the car just leaps in the air. That's net code. Such a pity for Ben.
Of Caleb Hyde's lesser on that nose cone too.
Yeah,
he tripped over there.
Ben. Oh well. But yeah, 3 abreast, and it's a really narrow piece of track there. So, yeah, the result was inevitable. The fact, and I think there might have been net code in that as well, by the looks of it. Quite a bit of net code.
Well, that was a view from Benjamin Roberts.
Yeah.
On the way in there, and you can see there was absolutely a piece of contact there. Look, much maligned by Dave Roberts, but I like these cars. You know why I like them, Dave? Because when I drive them, everyone's got the same parachute on that I have talent-wise. It brings me back to the pack.
Yeah, they're pretty easy to drive somewhere near the limit.
Makes me feel like I've got talent. Should we say that?
Yeah.
I like them. I like them because it creates the style of racing is interesting to watch at the end of the day. And for Phil Worley, he's enjoying this style of racing out in P2 at the moment. Court's managed to find his way. Remember, for Alex Court, where he started this race was a lot deeper in the pack. I tell you, Damien Cairns has just gone around the tail end of things as well. I think he's lost the rear end of that car. So what I think we're starting to see here, Dave, is tyre temperatures starting to come up.
Either that or, you know, brain's getting a bit tired. Bit of brain fade. Oh, he's just lost the rear end there. See, they have to run such low wing angles, and there's no downforce in the car because there's just not enough grunt to pull it. So running those really low wing angles makes it very, very loose.
Well, for Caleb Dawson and Scott Bartine, there is going to be a duel down into turn number 2, which becomes a duel down the straight line. And for Bartine, I don't think he fought that one too hard. And I think the key aspect of these cars as well, Dave, for me, it's got to be when you attempt an overtake like Scott showed there, it's not about getting the job done. It's about checking your opponent's momentum up so you get a better run on the next straight.
Yeah, it is. This is very much a momentum car. It's even bigger momentum car than the Formula Ford because, you know, you can make a mistake in the Formula Ford and it doesn't affect you too bad. You make a mistake in this and the car just stops. And,
I really like that piece of driving there. Sorry to cut you off from Caleb Dawson.
Yeah.
Mark Scaife would be on the radio saying he's going to prop him. He's going to prop him. Prop complete. Down the inside.
Yep.
And for Bartine, it's out the other side as well. And he will lose several more spots out of that one. In the meantime, Alex Court continuing to have a go at Phil Worley. And with 3 minutes on the clock, I think we've got 2 laps left here.
Yeah, they're... The trouble, the thing I don't like about these cars is that you can't get them out of line. You can't have a little... If you have a little slide, you lose so much momentum. So you got to drive them like they're on rails. And to me, that takes a bit of fun out of the driving. But hey, that's all right. You know, they do give really good racing. They're very, very close. And that's the beauty of the car. Very, very, very popular in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. But I think these cars don't teach you a lot about the... mechanical elements of a race car, the springs, the shock absorbers. It's all about aero, and I think you need to learn that before you learn aero. And coming out of a go-kart into this, you miss that big step in the middle.
I think what you're trying to say, Dave, is that you don't see this as a necessary step in between Formula Fords and Formula 3, in my mind. I don't think it's that you hate the car, you just don't agree with there being that step.
I just think they're underpowered, really, for what they are.
Yeah.
They should have a little bit more grunt, would make them a much better race car. Because they haven't... You know, we used to have Formula Ford 2000, and it wasn't too bad, and it ran wings, but the car seemed to have more torque. These things have got such big side pods. They're actually quite a large car, and all the crash structures in the side of the big side pods, and it just makes them really... They're a really big thing to push through the air, and they just don't quite have enough grunt. And they probably have a little bit too much tyre.
Well, off the road now goes Phil Worley, and that's going to present an opportunity for Alex Court, and he takes it. And I can tell you, for those of you watching on at home and looking for Roberts, has had another spin on this lap as well down to hairpin, so he has tumbled a little bit further off. Opportunities now for Caleb Hydes. He's going to look for it. We will come to the flag, and just going across the start-finish line. You know what? There's going to be an extra lap in this one. Yep. They snuck it in.
This is the last lap.
This is going to be an extra lap. They cross the line. there with probably about 1 or 2 seconds before the white flag would have been thrown. So they've got that one by the skin of the teeth for Phil Worley. He runs wide now on turn number 1. That will absolutely be a slowdown penalty on the run down to turn 2. And have a look at Mara that's going to try and buy his way into this in the back end of the race.
I'm putting my money on Worley here because I think he's got the speed and the pace. I think he can do this.
Well, he's going to go side by side. He's picked up the trough from Alex Court. Yep. It is a slightly longer way around the parabolica with 2 more times through this section of racetrack in race number 1. You'll get the inside when they get down here to the Spitzker, the hairpin at turn number 6, and job done for this lap. But it's the penultimate lap, and that might be a lap too early.
Yeah, man, Hyde's got the pace as well. He's running right at the front. I think he's struggling a little bit in the dirty air compared to running alone. Caleb's right there, and Mara's sitting on the back, and we saw Mara take 3 in one go just a minute ago, so he could do that again.
Yeah, opportunities are going to present themselves. 4 cars in this battle pack, squabbling over the remainder of the top 5. Damon Woods is going to come through the last couple of corners here in a few moments, grab that white flag as well.
9 seconds up the road.
Yeah, look what happens when you can just get set free to run your own race.
And you have the pace to do so.
I was going to say, do you reckon he's got a camera on board at the moment? Because he'd be taking some scenic shots from around Hockenheim.
Oh, I reckon he's probably on the phone talking to his mum.
Nice and relaxed. Unlike this battle pack, Phil Worley leads us to the white flag. One more time by in heat number 1. It's going to be Worley, Court, Hides and Mara for this battle pack, and very, very wide at turn 1 for Worley. He's gotten away without a slowdown penalty too. None of them have a penalty as they run off at turn number 1. So he's used all of the track that's available to him, and nothing has been left on the table.
Alex Court compromised his exit by cutting down on the inside on the way into that corner, and he's lost speed in the middle of the corner, given Worley the break, and now Caleb Hyde is all over him. So that was all just a little bit of he took a bit of a shallow line into that corner and it just lost the mid-corner speed, and here's the result. He's gone from 2nd to 3rd and given Phil Worley a very, very clean break.
And now he's going to drop back even further as well. So he goes from fighting for 2nd place at the start of the lap, and in one small mistake at turn 2, he's now struggling to hang on to 4th at the moment for Alex Court. It will be a number of places in the ascendancy for him in terms of this race. Mara looks at that rear wing. There will be just about no more opportunities on this lap. It's very difficult to get the overtake done. But for Alex Court, he's close enough. He's thinking about it in terms of Hides. Phil Worley is now starting to check out ahead of these drivers, and he'll try and set the sail to the final couple of corners. He's going to be safe, but very, very wide. Coming down through number 11 into 12 now. It's going to be Damon Woods who'll win it. It's going to be Phil Worley who's come home in 2nd, but for the guys that are squabbling over 3rd place, Alex Court looks to the inside at the 2nd last corner. That's Worley. Won't get there. It's going to be Damon Woods from Phil Worley. And Alex Court in 3rd. Caleb Hyde's 4th, and Jack Mara will come away.
Caleb Hyde actually...
sorry, my apologies.
Stop Alex Court there, so Alex Court back in 4th and Jack Mara in 5th. And then we've got a 7-8 second wait for Caleb Dawson to come through the finish line now. So these guys have all had a good race themselves in Dawson and Cairns and Bartain. They've all been running together, so having a good little race there.
Yeah, Roberts will actually do well to get here back up into... Rogers. Rogers gets back to 9th place, and Ben Roberts will get back for 10th spot. So it will still be points on the table. I think he fell all the way back to about 11th or 12th place, so he has still managed to pick off at least one spot in those closing laps, and important in terms of points.
The good thing for Ben is no matter how far back he falls, he's only about 15 cars off the lead.
Yeah, so small fields, occasionally they make for better racing. Occasionally. Not all the time in terms of things, but that was race number 1. Coming your way in just a few moments, we will have 45 minutes to go the distance. So 45 minutes on these cars, on these tyres. That is a big ask sometimes of them. And we saw guys overheating those rears in that first race, Dave.
I'm just hoping that doesn't mean 3 times a 9-second win.
You're saying you'd like it to be less than 27 seconds. If we can
I would like it to be less than 27 seconds to be good.
Yeah. In terms of track position, though, if for a 45-minute race, the other problem you've got is if you think you're a little bit faster, squabbling over that lead becomes a little bit more important, because if you can show a clean pair of heels and get after that leader, it can only be a 5-second win. But if you're back there in third, fourth, fifth, and you're squabbling for everything, all of a sudden that does blow out over 15, 20 seconds.
That's what happened then, is that Damon just got that little break, and then they squabbled, and it suddenly it's 4 seconds up the road, and then he could concentrate while they were covering lines and braking late and making mistakes in traffic. And Damon just had clean qualifying lap after qualifying lap and ran out a 9-second break in a matter of 4 or 5 laps.
What's your take on it then? Would you say you'd like to see Damon a little bit deeper in this field and having to squabble over that? I mean, in terms of lap 1, I just don't see him leading coming off of the hairpin at the end of lap 1.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I think the thing there is that it's all about the squabbling. If they can stop squabbling between each other, and they've got to keep an eye on Damon, because he is the rabbit in the field. He's the fast guy.
In terms of things,
and
Dave,
they've got to work together to try and beat him, instead of fighting against each other for the right to beat him. By the time they get around to working out who's got the right to beat him, he's gone.
In terms of things, I would like to say we've actually got 2 interviews actually lined up in terms of things. But for Damon Woods, mate, it's been a while since I've had a chat with you. Back to Formula 4, back to looking comfortable out in front, mate. That was nice and cruisy in the end.
It was very cruisy. I was, once again, very lucky that absolute chaos ensued behind, and they were all going 4 wide into the hairpin, so that helped me quite a lot. But yeah, I think I just had to head down and just pull away. I think that was the way to go.
How were the rear tyres after that race? Because we're seeing a number of issues up and down the field with hanging onto the rears.
I was pretty comfortable. I wasn't pushing them overly hard, so I'll do the same this race and make sure I don't cook them. But yeah, I wasn't struggling all that much. The setup's pretty good, so Caleb did absolute wonders during the week to try and get the setup hooked.
We're talking about that pre-race number 1 there, and it's important in these sorts of series. You're never going to qualify far enough up the field unless you have somebody to work with you in terms of qualifying. Yeah,
exactly. So with any kind of open wheeler racing, tow's a massive thing. So having someone to be able to tow with and ultimately bang in that good lap is key to be running up the front.
For you, obviously, it's not a direct teammate, but it's an indirect teammate. How important is Caleb? And I might actually grab Caleb in on this one as well. Caleb, welcome to the booth, obviously. He's just asking Damon, how important is it, obviously, the relationship between you guys working together? We'll start with you, Damon.
This season's been pretty key. So obviously we've been able to work set up with each other, and obviously qualifying as well. So without him, I think it'd be quite hard to be in the position I am, especially qualifying. If you don't have a tow, you're going to be further back in the field. So yeah. Without him, I think I'd be definitely not, right up the front in every qualifying session.
And for you, Caleb, how important is it? Damon just said he did massive work on the setup this week. Lots of props there for you, but it's really, really important to get feedback on that setup as well. One driver going out and working on the setup isn't as good as 2.
Yeah, usually it's Damon helping me out. So I was able to put together a decent hot dog. She was all right.
Okay, so settle the debate. What's your favourite open wheeler? Formula 4. I'm a big fan of Formula 4, but it's not for everyone. Formula Ford, Formula 4. What's the big ticket here?
Whatever produces the best racing is my go-to. So F4 and Formula Ford. Yeah, they both produce pretty good racing.
All right, well that's the important part. Good luck in race number 2, guys. 30 seconds to go here, and Caleb, you tell Damon he owes you one.
Oh, yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Good luck, guys.
Thanks, boys.
Always good to spice up the banter between teams. You can't work with someone, Dave, unless you give them a little bit of spice now and then.
I would have told Caleb that Damon said he did all the setup and you had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, you got to take some credit sometimes, particularly from Caleb's perspective. When somebody's running away on your set,
you'd be stirring it up between the teammates, wouldn't you?
Well, notes taken. I'll remember that for next time. 45 minutes. Here's the ticket. Damon Woods is going to be on pole for this one. Off alongside of Phil Worley. Caleb Hydes will be directly beside his pseudo teammate Alex Court, Jack Mara, Caleb Dawson, Cairns, Bartine, Rogers, Roberts, Marzoka, Bottrell. And it'll be over the page to the second ticket of our drivers, which will be Brodie Tressida, Jack Humphreys, and Riley McKibben, who will all be looking for a better start than this one.
Yeah, well, I was certainly looking for a better finish as well.
45 minutes though, Dave, in these cars, you can't battle for 45 minutes. You cannot battle for 45 minutes. That's
you
a
got
lot
to keep it smooth.
So you're saying tamer racing for this one, particularly for those drivers. Damien Cairns will be one of those. He'll be looking to look after the rear tyres. Multiple spins in that one, as well as Ben Roberts as well.
You're really looking for rhythm. You got to find your rhythm and just be able to drive it and let the car do the work. Don't fight the car. Keep it really smooth and just find your rhythm and flow through the race. And that's what these front guys tend to do so very, very well.
Lights are going to come on. This is what a restart looks like from the cockpit of Damien Cairns, and away and running they go. There was somebody who didn't get a great getaway up the front there. The launch was quite delayed. Might have been Phil Worley, who's nearly dropped back into the clutches, but they will single file at the front end of town. Hides will get away in P number 3 in the 92 entry from Alex Court in 4th, 5th. Mara, Dawson, Cairns is the way back into the top 7, and they feed down into turn number 2. For the first time of 45 minutes race duration, and Cairns will go the long way around at turn number 2, gives him the shorter run at turn 3.
Whoa.
And comes way out there and in the grass. And it's Scott Bartine that's out there.
Wow.
Long way off the racing surface for lap number 1, and Damon Woods is looking to cover as the momentum comes the way of Philip Worley around the outside. Worley will pinch the brakes. It'll be Caleb Hides who sneaks through into P number 2. Alex Court will try and go with them, but they all are single file off the hairpin this time for lap number 1. So maybe somebody's had a word in the ear about caution on lap 1, boys.
Yeah, you usually find that the heat race sort of takes all the experimentation, and everyone learns a very, very fast lesson, and the main race is usually a little bit neater.
Well, they'll all survive to get through turn and lap 1 this time by, albeit with Scott Bartine just barely about attached to the rear end of Anthony Marzoka, who looks like he actually started from the pit lane, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So he has managed to get back out there, but it was from a pit lane start for Anthony Marzoka. In terms of them firing round at the end of lap number 1, it is going to be Damon Woods with half a second as the tyres start to build that temperature and pressure. They'll be just about there towards the second half of this lap and on song down into turn number 1 as we ride on board with Alex Court. And that's what it looks like in turn number 1. There was a question in the chat about track limits. Well, the track limit says iRacing has a limit of where you can place the car, and it's different from track to track. In terms of this one, they do let you use a lot of that curbing at turn number 1, but if you put all 4 wheels off the striped curbing, there will be a slowdown penalty. Other than that, there are incident points. You collect too many of those incident points, a la, say, Formula 1 track regulations, or most top-tier series' track regulations. You accrue too many of those, drive-through penalty coming your way. 25 is the incident point limit for our feature race here tonight.
Oh, there's a big dive down the inside, a lock brake, unfortunately. Now, you've got to make a big move. You're going to make a move down to that hairpin. You've got to really back yourself, but unfortunately, he's just snatched a brake, and then that's all over. He's broken rear left suspension there.
Yeah, there is absolutely one of those 2 rear wheels spinning faster than the other. And it looks to be that left rear tyre that is chewing through the rubber as Bottrell will attempt to rubber cover that car back to the pit lane.
But you can see he's made a move, and I think he's actually outbraked himself, realised it, gone to the right to avoid everybody, and just unfortunately with the lock brake, couldn't do much.
And if that was a lap or 2 later, Dave, he would have just released the brake, coasted down through the corner and not cleaned anyone up. And you will see racing drivers do that from time to time. Unfortunately, lap 2, everyone's packed up. There's no gaps for them to fire that car through for Nick Bottrell, who will run down to the rear end of the field.
And it's a big braking point. You're at absolute maximum speed in top gear, and you've got to go all the way down, brake right down to sort of 60k first gear around the hairpin. So it's a really big braking point, and it's where you can, where your race lives or dies is right there. So you got to back yourself. You got to give it a shot. He did, unfortunately. And I mean this in the nicest way. What I say to myself when I do things like that is I just simply ran out of talent. I think he's got more to use than I have. But that's a bit of a Alonso moment there.
And it's going to be Humphries and Rogers side by side as they try and get down into the hairpin. Humphries goes deep. It's his turn to pitch a break. For Ben Roberts, that's going to present the crossover move. He'll get to the inside, which will be the inside down here at turn 7. But when he gets down to
this
8,
corner, you can run flat. You run flat through it two abreast. So Ben's not got this done yet. He'll try and run him up there as hard as he can, break early and try and get out on the inside. But he hasn't been able to do that, unfortunately. Ben's having a bit of trouble getting through the traffic here. But that's the trouble with these cars too, is that they're so close. It's really hard to get back through the field because everybody's pretty quick in them, and you can't find that extra pace to really push your way through the pack. It's pretty hard to do in these.
And for Nick Bottrell, race night just about over, already in the lane and taking repairs. Will rejoin just now. But for Scott Bartine, who was the driver that was out in the weeds on lap number 1, around at the hairpin currently, and no tow for him means it's going to be a very, very long 45-minute feature race.
Yeah, there's a pit stop to go. You know, you can easily have a safety car, although this place tends not to breed safety cars too much, this circuit. But you know, a bit of a safety car and a oh, is there somebody lost the rear on the way in there? Car 8, that
Dawson, by the look of it.
Dawson, yeah. So it's car 6. 6 looks like an 8. Yeah, that's close. Yeah, so he's just lost the back end under brakes. You be really careful when you brake really, really hard in these, that you actually let a little brake off before you turn in. Otherwise, they will swap hands on you.
Well, that's the view on board currently from Damien Cairns once again, and it's going to be a 3-car fight, a 3-car tow train. And one of the things I've been noticing was exactly what she said at the top of the show, Dave, by the way. Every single time we've gone to a wing angle shot, it is trimmed out like you would not believe.
Absolutely.
There is nothing on these cars.
No, because if you've got anything on these cars, you're just not competitive in a straight line.
Yeah, so it is all about sacrificing the corners for the straight lines in this series. And for Damien Cairns...
Damien's got the checker on. Found a bit of straight road, didn't he?
Yeah, a little bit of straight road, no wheel activity, and that means he's celebrating how good racing is.
Yeah.
Damien's one of those characters for me, Dave, that he is just celebrating racing. Does not matter where he
having fun,
finishes.
isn't he?
Yeah, he's having fun. And that's what I love about Damien. Every time I'm commentating him across multiple different categories, multiple different series, and he races supercars, he races Formula Fords, he races everything, just has a blast.
Yep. And it's nice to see someone enjoying their racing. Damon Woods is certainly not making the escape like he did in the first one. I think Heights and Worley have got wise to it. They're not fighting each other, and they're sitting in his toe, because that's what they've got to do. Use Damon to keep with Damon. Use his toe, sit in his toe. Every time you lose a little bit in the corner, the next straight, sit in his toe, gain it back. And just keep the pressure on him.
And have a look at the top 3 as well. Nothing covering them at the moment. 1, 2, 3. Woods, Hides, Worley. There'll be a little bit of a gap back to Jack Marra, who sits in between our 2 groups of 3. And the second group of 3 was where that on-board shot was coming your way from earlier. It was the tail end of this one. These guys seem to be happy for Alex Corder to be pushing. Now, with these smaller engine categories, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but fuel saving tends to not be as effective.
Fuel saving's not an issue. They've got so much fuel on board these things they could do 3 races. Although they're restricted of fuel, fuel is not an issue. It's they are what they are, and because there's very little wing on them, whether you drive them hard, whether you don't drive them too hard, there's not a hell of a lot of difference in the amount of fuel usage. And the only way you can save fuel is by lifting coast on the way in, and if you do that, mate, you're slow. So everyone's the same. You just got to drive them hard and let them go.
Yep, so it's leave it all out on the track, fill the thing up with the amount of fuel that you need for it, and go. Yeah, just no fuel saving whatsoever. It's not about make sure we got enough to get to the end and just go as hard as we possibly can. Real difference from sim racing compared to real life racing. There's not many Formula 4 drivers will be out there and they'll be sitting there with their beakers going, yep, we want to get 500 mils out of this thing per lap. Well, there's a litre. I'm only going to put 800 mil in it. And we'll save that extra 200 mil. Not that sort of, I mean, obviously those numbers are wildly off, but that sort of games doesn't get played at grassroots motorsport because no benefit in it.
No, these guys in the front, they are using each other's toe, and that's what they're using, and they're staying together by using that hole in the air that Damon's providing. So that's good. They're being smart. A little bit of a break. Damien Cairns has dropped off that third pack a little tiny bit, and then there's a battle back between Rogers and Roberts behind him. So Ben Roberts is still trying really hard to get back through this field. But he and Rogers need to get smart, use each other, and by using the tow and not fighting each other, they can tow each other back up and catch the group in front. So I think that's what they'll do. I've got faith that these guys are going to drive themselves back to the tail end of that next group in front of them and be on the tail of Damien Cairns in a lap or two.
Yep, 1.8 seconds was the difference there between them on the most recent lap, 39.2. So it took half a second out of the cars ahead for Roberts. So it may take 4 laps or so for him to actually be into that group, but he will get there based upon those numbers. In the meantime, fastest lap of the race has been set by Phil Worley, which was a little bit earlier in the race. That's the marker that we're sort of looking at the moment between Ben Roberts and the car behind him. And for the meantime, I think Rogers is just being pulled along a little bit, and he just seems happy to be so, and that is heads-up driving.
Yeah, they've got to be smart. They've just got to be smart about it and not fight each other so that you're not doing the desperate late break and trying to cover the corner. And see now, Rogers not making a move down the inside. He's just sitting back saying, Ben, I'm not threatening you. Take your line, be fast. I just want to use your tow. And together they will be faster than they are separate.
I can tell you, faster sectors of the fuel start to burn out of these cars. Faster sectors of the race starting to appear on the timing sheets for Damon Woods. Set the fastest sector from before we went into the last sector on that most recent lap down through 11, 12, 13, the final complex on the start-finish straight. So Woods is starting to find some more time as well. For Hines has managed to go with him thus far, and still being towed along there, and Worley's going to go with him as well as we watch sort of these battles through the field. For Marzoka at the moment, he's going to be side by side with Tressida as they come to turn number 7, and the kink flat out, and will it be Bravery around the outside, or is Tressida going to get back down the inside? Pinch brake up ahead for Humphreys, and it's still going to be around the outside. Tressida's going to fight him all the way, but Marzoka eventually gets the inside line. No, sorry, it is going to be Tressida who comes away with that one. And Marzoka will have to watch one more lap to see if that gap opens up again.
Yeah, it's a really awkward little left-hander, that corner back there. It's a lot tighter than it appears. There's plenty of runoff on the right, but there's a slowdown there if you go too far. So pretty awkward to go through there 2 abreast. They did a lovely job of doing so.
And the key thing with that corner as well, you've got to get back to the left-hand side of the road again for the right-hander as well.
Yeah, and here you can see they're using all the road and a bit more. They're out over the curbs. They're using every bit of road they can find, because it's quite narrow through that, what they call the stadium section. Because this circuit used to be a huge circuit and went off into the mountains. I was lucky enough in the 80s to be there and watch an F2 race and European Formula Ford 2000 race, and on the full circuit, and it was superb watching Mike Thackwell in his V6 Honda F2 car at the time, and those guys just so quick. But that stadium section, you can't believe it until you're there. The big built-in grandstands are just full of people, and there's 100,000 people there in the grandstand. It's just amazing what the area. This is like the old circuit, and then as you come, well, there's a new section of the old circuit. We used to come back up, and then as we come out of here, we'll go through this right-hander, then the next right-hander, and it's into what they call the stadium section, and you'll see these grandstands all around the outside. Absolutely superb place, and it is like a cathedral of speed. It really is.
It used to be absolutely about that speed too. All the straights used to be longer. Yep. It used to be just about bravery, how much speed you're going to carry, how deep. Nowadays it is much slower circuit. Still got the opportunity for the overtaking to the end of the big long straights. There still is elements of there, but the style and the tone of Hockenheim has been forever changed with the new variations to it. Some will say that's racing. It changes, move on with it. Some will say, gee, it does the old place.
I think to a degree they've been able to retain some of the character of the original circuit. Not probably as much as I'd like to have seen, but it's pretty good. They've done a pretty good job for what they had to do.
This will be the replay of, we just saw Caleb Dawson dropping off the tail end of this pack. So this will be the view looking forwards from Roberts, and have a look at the car and wiggle ahead of him.
So he's lost the rear on the way in, and things spat him to the left, and he's managed to hang on to it, not disappear under the grass or the fence. But that was a big moment. You watch here the car as he turns into the second right-hander here. This one, the car loses the rear seat. It spat him wide, and he's had another big dive and hit the brakes and saved the car, but lost about 3 positions. So.
Yeah, but for me, he crawled all over that sausage curb in the middle of the last 2 corners there. And it looked as if as the car settled again off the sausage curb, that's where it got away from him. That's rear tyre temperature. And over a 45-minute race, we saw Ben Roberts struggling to manage it and bring the car back under control. It takes laps and laps and laps to get that surface temperature back out of the tyre. And that's what it is, that surface temperature. When it bakes down into the core, you're done for.
Yeah, you can usually, in these things, you can probably get it back in about a lap. It's not too bad.
So you're saying then that in the sprint race, you reckon Ben maybe just been overdriving to the conditions?
Mate, I don't know. That's I don't know what Ben's doing, but I'm saying that these cars, when they do overheat the rears and get them sideways and whatever, it doesn't take too long to get them back. They're pretty lightweight. You just drive it carefully for a couple of corners, and the grip starts to come back in them. And it's nothing like real life. That's the way iRacing model the tyres. In these that where you slide it and it overheats and you can't use it anymore, that's not reality. In reality, if you slide the car like that, you get on it. As long as you haven't flat spotted it, you've still got full grip. But
that's the difference. That's why I like
it is a bit of a
Dave.
difference.
Every time I've worked with you thus far, I've learned something about racing, I'll tell you that much. So,
but it's just the way they model the tyres in iRacing is if you have a slide, it gives you a massive overheat, which you don't really get in the real world. If you have a little slide, sure, you might get the tyres a bit hot, but you don't go into the next corner and suddenly have no grip, which is these things do. So you just got to be a bit careful in this, and if you do that, you just take it easy for a corner or two, and the tyres sort of come back to you.
Damien Cairns has gone toe-to-toe with Paul Rogers and Ben Roberts and has not come out ahead at the moment. Roberts has gone through and killed the both of them. And for now, it's going to be Cairns and Rogers that'll continue to go toe-to-toe. This battle has gone on for half a lap, and it's going to continue on for a fair bit longer. They get down now into turn number 11 on the outside. Nah, Damien will have to.
This is where the road gets narrower as you go into this stadium section. It really does narrow up. There's quite a bit of banking in this little left-hander here. This looks really fast. You've got to be really gentle into this first one because you go far too wide, and you really need the exit out of the second one. And if you get the exit right and you get a really fast run, you use all this curb on the left, this is quite a little run down to the first corner. So, it is a real rhythm circuit. You've got to get that rhythm right. I keep talking about rhythm, and it's just finding your rhythm. And it's like playing golf. You just got to get that sweet swing.
Hello, we've got something happened to Brody Tressida.
Oh, I think
he's stuck at the last
happened to
corner.
him. Yeah, he's definitely done something to that, hasn't he?
Well, we saw that moment just before from Dawson, and this nearly looks in similar. So for Tressida, he's going to come into the last corner. There was car wide just ahead of him. Crawled all over that curb again. Just
Caught that left hand rear, and then she's done the spit, and smack her into the fence. Oh, that was nasty.
And unfortunately for Tressida, he's had 4 goes at saving that car and nearly come out the other side.
That little sausage curb, it's a killer, isn't it? You watch it, just there, little tiny sausage curb, just lifts the rear, and they just lose grip of the rear, and then he's fighting it all the way.
That's unfortunately for Tressida. And already the communication coming through that a lot of drivers are going to be looking to pit in for Jack Humphries. I think he actually might have already done his stop. No, he's just come. That was a bump of a button to say that he was coming into the lane. But in the meantime, Damon Woods has gone past the lane. There's been no communication about anyone coming to the pit lane. Race control, that car has been cleared. So for Tressida,
probably a bit early for an unplanned pit stop. So I think you'll find these guys, they'll want to run the tanks pretty empty and run the car as light as possible. And it also means when they stop, they'll probably put they won't put less fuel in, but the car will be less heavy when they come out because it's, they're running it empty and they're putting a minimum amount of fuel back in. So these guys will try and run that. I know Damon will try and run that car as empty as he can possibly get it before he pits.
So
Yeah.
they're going to look to run long, and Nick Bottrell's made another transit through the pit lane, by the way. So for Bottrell, whatever it was has gotten worse. Unfortunately for him, he's had to come back to the lane to grab some service.
The only trouble with
And-
running it really long is if there happens to be a safety car and somebody's already made a pit stop, then if the car in 5th or 6th has already made a pit stop and then there's a safety car, the leaders have to go in the safety car, and that guy in 6th, he doesn't have to make a pit stop, will get track position. That's the only threat by running the car late, is if there's a safety car happens between the early stoppers and the late stoppers.
So it wasn't anyone off of the lead laps. I'm still going to go with your call of may not necessarily need a pit stop within this race, but for the meantime, has been noted that Damon Woods has picked the pace up just a fraction. New fastest lap of the race. He's taken it by 26 thousandths of a second.
3 seconds break now.
Yeah, and he is gone. And that says to me, one or both of these guys in pursuit of him have also had a moment on their rear tyres. In the meantime, Damon Woods is not.
Yes. It's all about driving the car smoothly and not being too aggressive with the car. Again, having that rhythm that just is gentle on the car, but gives you great speed and keeping that mid-corner speed up and just doesn't wear the tyres. So there's Roberts into the pits. He's made that early stop, and he's going to hope now that somewhere between now and the end of the race, or between now and when the leaders pit, that there will be a safety car, because if there does, he's got track position.
And
Yeah,
that
he's a long way down the back, away from them, but it's still very, very possible to make that gap.
That is probably about one lap prior to the halfway point in this race. It should be noted as well. So he's tried to split this thing directly in half. I talked to Damon Woods earlier and said, yeah, not too worried about the rear tyres, looking after them quite nicely for a number of drivers, particularly those drivers who have been in the dirty air for a number of laps. Think Phil Worley, Caleb Hydes. They have been dealing with that for a number of laps. And like you said, not a huge amount of downforce on them. Still makes an effect, still has some part to play in the magic formula that is the Formula 4.
You look at these wings, they're all very, very flat, aren't they? Look at them. They're just as flat as you can get that wing.
Meantime, for Jack Murray's
See the
starting to
around there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is that they're just slowly, they're just taking the edge off the tyre, and it's starting to drift around a little bit more, a little bit of
Oh,
curb.
there's that bit of curb. Be careful of that curb, Phil. It's bitten a couple of people already, that curb, hasn't it?
And for Damon Woods, goes through and does the new purple sector in the final sector of the lap yet again. So that pace has indeed been picked up. Dawson's now going to come to the pit lane and also look for a little bit of an undercut, a little bit of tyre assistance. Jack Mara is starting to drift a little bit further back to Alex Court. That margin has closed up. It's down to about 1.6 seconds between those two guys. So Court is slowly coming at him. And for Caleb Hydes, is this his opportunity, or is he going to continue to just sit here? To be patient for Caleb Hydes. He's watching. He's closing. He's closing.
You're not going to do
He's
it. He's just sitting.
He's saving. He's happy to be here.
I think he's just. I think he's fuel saving, to be honest. I think he's trying to use Phil there and see. Be interesting to see whether he can do it. But he's trying to save enough fuel, sitting in the tow, lifting and coasting into the corner, not making a threat under brakes. He's trying to save fuel and see if he can get all the way to the finish. Be a pretty tough call without a safety car.
And a couple questions coming in. Is the undercut powerful in these cars? I get the feeling you actually want to overcut. I get the feeling cold tyres for me would be a problem. So whether or not they actually don't take the tyres, and the reason that Ben
They wouldn't
Roberts
touch tyres.
yeah, is actually just to let the tyres cool off.
They won't take tyres. The tyres, the time they lose on the cold tyres on the first 2 laps out doesn't make up for what they gain on new tyres, because the tyres will do 100 laps. They're pretty tough, the tyres on these things. They get hot and they get a bit slippery, but that's doesn't matter whether they're 10 laps old or 50 laps old.
So in the meantime, what has Court done on this lap? He's actually dropped a fraction further back. So Mara's actually responded a little bit in there. And I get the feeling Damien Cairns might actually be sick of seeing the rear bumper of Rogers' car by the end of this race, the amount of fighting that these two guys have done.
Yeah, and I think Jack Mara's probably a little lonely out there.
He's been lonely for a very long period in this race. He lost touch with that top 3 early on, but that's also enabled him just to drive to his own schedule. There's been no one pushing him, no one bombing him, which is also quite handy. Alex Court's been pushing extremely hard behind it, trying to bridge that gap.
Yeah, poor old Jackie feels like he's in the immigration queue for New Zealand, all alone.
There is reasons to go over to New Zealand. Beautiful island.
It is a beautiful place.
I can't wait to get actually. I'm a little bit disappointed. Not some more of the tracks actually won't be making to the trip to iRacing, but it is good that they have saved Pukekohe digitally.
Yep.
And news of that, I expect.
Hurry up and build it.
Well, we're also not far away from the Gen 3 supercar as well. I get the feeling with...
Ask someone who cares.
Well, for you, I've just come off I do a lot of supercars commentary around it. I just like to see what the difference is. Who knows? Maybe it's easy to drive. Oh, more curb for Phil Worley.
And you see the tails getting a little wag on there in the middle of the corner. So they're certainly pushing it, these two. But Damon again, he's just gone. He's 4 seconds up the road again.
I think the question now becomes for Damon Woods is how long till we see him signed with a major team? I don't think it's a matter of if, I think it'll be when.
Yeah, he's particularly good in the open wheelers. He's just got a knack for them, which is fantastic. Look at these Caleb just sitting there. All he's doing is saving fuel. That's all he's doing. You read the little F4 badge on the nose? Look at that.
That is a great shot of what the rear diffuser looks like, looking back to a front wing, and how very little downforce there is on the front end of that thing.
He's choosing not to make any move. I'm just going to sit in the tow here and try and save fuel. That's what he's trying to do.
It's working for him. In the meantime, Nick Bottrell.
Nick Bottrell round. Car still straight. All four wheels pointing the right way. That's a good thing.
Well, for his sim racing journeys, Nick Bottrell will not have Germany on his return to list in any time in the near future.
Yeah, I am really impressed with Damon's abilities in an open wheeler, whether it be an F3.5 or one of these or a Form Ford. He's just got that knack, and he seems to be able to read traffic. So he's got the good racecraft and puts it together, constantly puts it together. So
I've got news for you on the Damon Woods front as well. It's not just open wheelers. He is extremely quick in GT3 cars as well.
Oh, there you go.
So, got lots of opportunity to talk to him after, the same as you would here. You'd be talking to him just about every week. Same thing in the Speed Cafe series, actually, by the way. Ran very, very quick there in the GT3 cars, won the most rounds there, but unfortunately for him, inability to attend every race was the downfall for him because he had real life commitments, and that was the issue.
Is that a weekend event, is it?
Yeah, no, Speed Cafe's Friday nights. Friday nights.
Well, that's a weekend event. If you're racing a real car, you're not racing one of these on a Friday night.
That was the issue. Had to attend Formula Ford state titles.
Yep.
So, but I do want to.
That is one of the reasons why FRG we pick Tuesday nights. Tuesday night is the best night we feel, because if you're racing on a weekend before, you're home, you've dealt with Monday, you've had a relaxed Tuesday night, I can do some racing. It's also early enough in the week. If you're racing the following weekend, you can do that and get that'll get me in tune for the weekend. It doesn't affect anybody. It's why they used to always do half-price Tuesdays at the cinemas, is because Tuesday night's the deadest night of the week. So that's the perfect night to go motor racing.
Well, the other thing is, Thursday night becomes, if you've got any last-minute maintenance to get out of the way on the car, Thursday night's for it. Friday night's travel. Sunday night,
and the
Sunday.
wife is saying, we need to do some shopping on Thursday night or whatever.
Yep, pack the car and go away.
And as you get towards the end of the week, you get busier at work. I've got to get this work done before the weekend. So you tend to have Thursday and Friday nights run a bit late. Tuesday night's the best night of the week. It's race night. For me, it's sim race night.
Jack Marrow, by the way, is going to come down to the attention of his pit crew.
And we've got Marzocca in the lane as well.
So, number of drivers now come to the attention of their teams is from Jack Marrow backwards. Everyone has come to the lane. It's only the top 5 that have continued on, and That's important as well, because if Jack thought that there was going to be an Alex Court closing on, potentially grabbing a draft, he's prevented that and given him another lap to do something about it. For Caleb Hydes now, it's no longer time to fuel save, it's time to pull the trigger. As the clock ticks to 16 minutes left to go in this race, Caleb Hydes has decided, I want second place, I want to get out of here, and he is starting to make that attack.
Interesting he chose to do that right then, and I wonder whether that's got to do with
He's got caught.
and that's uh-oh. Well, mate, I know he'll be making his pit stop now because he's got one of those. See, he wanted to make it look like a Formula Ford.
Well, the problem he's got is he's got to try and make it through the highest downforce part of the circuit without a rear wing now. And that is going to be a squirrely thing to get back to the lane.
I like the way it handles with that one. Can we take it off all of them?
This will be the quickest that Caleb's been accelerating all night long.
Oh dear. Looks a bit like a Peugeot Le Mans car, doesn't it?
Yeah, nice and trimmed out.
It's just awkward. I think Phil Worley's got a little bit caught out there by the by being in the. He's been sitting there in front by himself all the time, being in this tow behind a car. You lose a little bit of downforce, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here, and that I think it just got caught out a little bit. Oh well, but I'm pretty sure I can put good money on the fact that I think Phil Worley's probably looking at a time penalty on that. So you know. I am impressed with Anthony Marzocca tonight. He's made a pit stop and he's up in 10th. He's come from the back of the field, and I think we said a pit lane start. Mate, he was up in 9th. He was up in 8th or 9th place there before he took a pit stop. That's really some really nice driving in his virgin white F4 there.
I definitely had him down for pit lane start. So, yeah, definitely started for pit lane, right? You're 100% right.
Yep.
Comments coming in from the YouTube chat, by the way, as well. Cheers, fellas. Jack Marzocca Jack Mara has just started singing some Fleetwood Mac to himself in Silly's pitwood window. Well, I think the Fleetwood Mac has actually worked for him, now up to P3. So he'll take that one. From Brewer74, Tuesday night has been FRG night for a few years now, since back in its F3A days. It's a staple, can't take it away, much like Cheap Tuesdays. Yes, and from Cher, yes, and for me, it's mum and son night, sitting along and watching the broadcast as well.
Yes, she's responsible for Rue.
Oh no, there is a ton of stuff I can get out. I know where to go for my research on Rue's racing now.
Yep.
Well, that's thrown Rue under the bus. Rue Cruiser, look out.
Here's Jack Mara all over the back of Worley. And Worley's facing a potential penalty for that incident. So Jack's really looking pretty good here at the moment. So he's got 10 seconds back to Roberts, and then I'm surprised. Because Caleb with his damage, so he's 15 seconds back up the road. Interesting.
Well, he did manage to get back to the lane, so I mean, the other side of this coin is that race control can absolutely. 15 seconds is enough of a margin that they can sit there and go, if we want to be painful, we can make it redress it. It's just, that'd be a crazy penalty. It is still doable, but
they wouldn't do that. Not after a pit stop.
I don't think so either.
There is more than likely there'll be some sort of penalty. You'll see something come up. I'm sure that you'll see something come up. So, nice drive, Jack. Doing a good job here, buddy.
This has become a three-way fight now, because Ben Roberts, remember, we said he undercut, he's tagged into this.
Yeah, so he's only half a second or three or 4 tenths off the back there. You can see what he is. Car length off the back there. But Worley's the cork in the bottle, and they don't want to tell Worley's run a bit wide there on the entry of that corner. So they don't want to put themselves under too much threat of passing a car they don't need to pass. But at the same time, he's sort of got to, because he's got another one on his butt.
Well, the problem is, would these guys be aware that Worley's even under threat of a penalty? Because they weren't in this fight. And remember, for Jack Mara, he'd actually pit, so he was nowhere near Phil Worley on track.
Depends whether they got a spotter, whether they've got someone, in their Discord chat to them. That I don't know what these guys are running in that way. That makes a big difference. So this is where it is good to have a spotter or a Discord where you've got somebody who's watching the race, actually keeping you up to date with what's really happening out there. Because as you say, if you didn't have one, you wouldn't know.
Update, Jack does know that there's a penalty. He is now aware of that one. So, yep, that's the update from that one. So Ben Roberts will know as well. Well, nothing has... Okay, so we have to re-clarify on that one. There is no penalty yet. We're only seeking a question mark on that one. But, yeah, for now, for Jack Mara, is aware of that situation. So do you sit here, do you play patient and give the opportunity for the two teammates to start crawling all over you?
Yeah, well, there's not much I can do because there we go. There it is.
Well, now the thing is for Worley, he is still in this spot because it's a 10-second penalty. That won't be served until post-race. That will be applied to his post-race time. Yep. So he is effectively still fighting these guys on track. But the problem is, the more he fights, the more time he loses to the car behind, which means the more positions he will drop. He'll drop a break, actually, and go very deep as they run down through turn number 8, back through 9, back to the right-hander, on through 10. And Mara is having a crash. He is. He's absolutely struggling. I agree with that, Dave.
And I'm looking, if you add 10 seconds to Worley's time, that brings that to like 22 seconds, which moves him right back to about 10th place.
And the more he squabbles, the further he falls. It might be in his best interest to just let these guys go on by and tag onto their coattails. If his tyres are ailing, as they clamber all over that sausage curve yet again, that red stripe at the outside of turn number 15 continues to be a problem for these drivers. Get nervous every time they're out there.
It's a hard thing to talk yourself into doing, though, to let someone by to improve your position. That's just, you're driving a race car. That just does not compute. But you're right. If they're fighting and losing time, he may be better to let him by, because he's not racing these guys. He's actually racing Marzocca and Dawson in reality now with a 10-second penalty, because he's 12 seconds off the lead, so add another 10 seconds, that's 22 seconds off the lead. So he's racing side by side with Dawson in reality.
Well, here comes Jack Mara. He's going to try and get down the inside. He will get there. He gets far enough off, and the drive off. Great move from Jack Mara. Signed, sealed, and delivered. It was a send. It had to be a send, but he pulled it off nicely.
And he kept the drive on the way out, so he didn't lose too much momentum there, which is really nice.
Job done.
I think Worley picked up a little bit of the outside curb, bounced the car a bit, and just lost that little bit of exit momentum, exit speed with the curb. So there's Damon out on his merry way.
Well, do you reckon he might have some marshmallows on beside him? Maybe some popcorn?
Mate, I reckon if he worked for Uber Eats, he'd make $1 million at the speed he'd deliver. There'd be no such thing as a cold pizza if you got him delivering it.
Do you think with the pace that he's running, you might add heat on the way to the customer?
Probably would.
That's how hot the form is for Damon Woods. But in the meantime, Jack Mara's got control of this, and he has to defend, which is a secondary problem now. So for Phil Worley, he is in third place, still with that 10 seconds heading over his head. It's out to, he'll finish 22.7, but that was very wide at turn 1. I get the feeling there's no slowdowns. None of them got slowdowns from that.
No. I'm just looking at it, so it's 12 to Dawson's 22.8. See, Dawson's not losing anything. These guys are exactly the same speeds, so they are slowing each other up. Now what's happening here is Worley's moving across to try and give his teammate the toe rather than Jack Mara. There's all sorts of games going on out here, and he's slowed up to let his teammate down the inside. And that's interesting. He's let Ben Roberts through. A little bit of tactical play here. And Jack, I think Jack's now got himself up the inside. But this corner you can go through here flat, too wide, not a problem. So, but is he? No, Worley's back up that inside. Another dive down the inside of the hot dog. And Jack's got himself into second place. Now what he needs to do is exactly what he's doing. Grab the toe off Ben Roberts and keep himself safe from Worley behind. This is a pretty good little battle, this three-way fight here.
I think about the psychology that's going through this from Phil Worley's perspective. He tried to assist his teammate everything he possibly could. Now, his best thing that he can do as a driver is just sit here and enjoy this battle. He didn't give it away to Jack. Jack still had to earn it, but at the same time, he knew, I cannot afford another penalty. I'm going to give him all the room he absolutely desires. That's the sausage curb and what it's doing to these Formula 4 cars. And for Phil Worley, who already looked like he was struggling on tyres, some more heat. And
Court and Hydes are moving in on these guys. See that curb again? They just got it sideways on that curb. But Court and Hydes are moving back in. Caleb Hyde's back in the game here after losing the rear wing. Gee, his pit crew must be good putting a new wing on that so quickly.
Yeah, and he's in the toe. He is in the toe of Alex Court. So Court isn't vulnerable yet, but by the tail end of this lap, he may just about to be. For the meantime, Jack Mara
making a move.
6 minutes on the clock. We're under 6 minutes left to go, and here comes Jack Mara. He'll move it to the inside of the road. He's going to try and get down the inside of Roberts here. Check the momentum up. He is there. He is alongside, and for Roberts, he's going to run it out and around the long way. Gets to the curb. They both get good drive. They both got a little bit unsteady on the way out the other side, but Jack's got the nose ahead as they get to the kick. Has he got anything for him when they get down here to turn number 8? The left-hander is going to be back down the inside for Ben Roberts, and Phil Worley's just forced to watch it. That was brave. That was trust. And a wiggle for Roberts' trouble, and Jack is driving out of his skin right now.
And so Ben's shallow entry into that corner, he had to ask a little bit more from the car at the mid-corner. I think just lost the rears a bit, got a bit squirmy, and away went Jack. He's got 3 car lengths lead. That's a big lead in this pack.
And a couple of laps, this margin for the lead is ballooned to 8 to 14 seconds. It was 10 seconds, I think, about 2 laps ago. That's...
Yeah, I see Worley snatching a break there and just dropping off the back of Roberts. So yeah, we're within 5 minutes of the finish here. So the race controller just called a blanket tow. So if anybody crashes now, there won't be a safety car. It will be instantaneous. They're able to tow back to the pits without asking. So that's what they mean by blanket tow. Everybody out there, if you've got a blanket, you get a tow. No, everyone out there, you're free to tow. You don't have to ask race control or request a tow, which you normally do so that they can ascertain the situation of the race from the accident before they permit a tow, and that allows them to ascertain what the incident is and whether it requires a safety car or not. From here on in, within 5 minutes of the end, we don't have safety cars because FRG do not believe in races finishing under yellow.
Yep, I mean, it's different. Every league will have a different way about it, but generally that's the way to... We want to finish it under green flag conditions. We want our drivers to have a crack, and with sim racing, the benefit is those barriers don't take too much damage, and we can clean up the damage really, really quickly without risking marshals. That is the difference. For Jack Mara, the difference is that he's found a little something extra in these last couple of minutes, and for Ben Roberts, was struggling on those tyres. It's been an impressive drive through the field. Is that Phil Worley getting out of the way? He is absolutely saying to these guys, yep, I'm getting out of the way. Not fighting it. Don't know if it was a slowdown. Couldn't see anything on my radar. May have been a slowdown, but...
Wonder whether Phil's carrying a little bit of damage or something there in some way. Something just doesn't look... Oh, I see the car again sideways. And it's not just tyre wear. I feel like he's got a little bit of alignment damage. Oh, he's had over the curb again. Gee whiz. It's really a bit of a beast, this thing.
Yeah, something to behold, something to handle. I get the feeling with that time crossing the line.
Definitely needs to take it to puppy training.
I'll tell you what, there might be 3 laps left in this thing because of just how far Damien Woods is out ahead. I think we've just barely got enough time for 3 laps. It'll be similar to race number 1 where we squeak that extra lap in. I think the same thing might be happening here. So for these drivers in the field who maybe only calculated that we go the distance of 27 laps, if we go that 28th lap, there may be some splashes to come.
Oh, we'll see. I bet Jack's sitting out there going, oh, no, not another lap. So nice cover down the inside here. He's covering that inside line, making Ben go the long way around the outside. If you want this, you're going to have to do it the long way. Caleb's just outbraked himself a little bit there and given an opening to Alex Court on the exit. Alex got a good run out of there, but Tatum's got a little bit more poke.
Yeah, and it's going to be Hydes going around the outside as they get to the kick down into...
Now, brake early. No, brake it. Oh, okay.
Whoa, he drifts the rear end through there from Hydes, but he doesn't quite come away with the position. Court will have to run narrow. Court won't have the momentum, and that's worked out for Caleb Hydes. But in the meantime, Mara and Roberts continue to go toe-to-toe. Worley is resigned to spectator in all of this drama, and it's now to the outside. Potentially 2 laps left to go. It will actually only be 1 more lap left, so it will be 27 laps will be the distance for Jack Mara. He will be so happy that there's not 2.
Well, I'm not sure. He's got somebody too close to him at the moment. He's really got his hands full, and he's driving in those mirrors at the moment. So big lap here. Whatever happens, as long as they don't touch each other, they should both be on the podium.
And one more time by, as evidenced by Barney waving the white flag. That is not the surrender symbol. That is time to turn up the intensity if you've got anything left. And Jack Mara wiggled that Formula 4 all the way to the exit curb at turn 3 and then through the kink at turn number 4.
Good exit.
Got
He's got
an okay
a pretty
exit.
good exit. He's got the pace and he's making Ben go around that long way down to the hairpin again. It's all about this hairpin. Whoever gets out of the... Oh, Ben's got some overlap and he's tried to close him down, but he just didn't have it. He didn't have a clear run, and Jack's got a clear run out of that, and he's got that car length that he was looking for that he can get back across the road. These guys are fighting tooth and nail. I think Mara's he's got clean that he can cover that and make Ben go down. He's forcing Ben down the outside. And here again, he's been able to hold that line, keep the momentum in the car. Even though he took the shallow line, he's covering again, covering everywhere. He's only got it. He's just doing this. We haven't seen him do it all race. It's worthwhile. You can do that the last lap. You're expected to do it. You fight to the death. So he's doing that. Great drive from Damon Woods, all on his lonesome. Hasn't seen anybody all night.
Yeah, and now it's back to these two guys.
Yeah,
Three more corners. 2 to go. It's going to be the final 2 turns. Mara's got the nose ahead, but Robertson's got something for him at the last.
Not quite.
Everything at him there, Dave. Absolutely everything at him. That was a stunner. And for Caleb Hydes and Alex Court, they will get through the last lap in the order of Hydes, Court for the top 5. Worley comes home on track in 6. Will be relegated down to... He snuck home. He has snuck home at the moment.
195.
10th. He will be 10th.
He'll be 9th.
No, he will be 9th. You're right. 100% he will be 9th.
So that's
about
not
1.8 seconds. Yep.
Yeah, 9th. So Damon Cairns will get him, but he's been fighting Dawson. I said he's been fighting Dawson all the way to the finish. He's actually beaten Dawson by 8/10 of a second. Or about 7 or 8/10 of a second. So they've been fighting the whole race on different parts of the track for the same position. Pretty cool.
I tell you what, that last lap battle between Hydes and Court as well cannot be dismissed. It was all eyes glued for the battle for 2nd place, but that battle for 4th was just as good. And for Damon Woods, he said, oh yeah, look, I love the racing when it's tough and frantic, but at the same time, he won't be complaining with a little bit of an easier night at the office. It'll be 2 race wins.
Bit of a replay.
For Damon Woods.
Yep.
But that racing was phenomenal. I tell you what, they're going to sit down and celebrate the racing at the end of that one. I get the feeling, generally with just how that played out on track between Jack and Benjamin, I get the feeling that'll be man, that was just good. I just enjoyed the battle. There's some drivers up and down the field will be going, I'm frustrated with 3rd place, but for Ben, I think he just enjoyed the fight.
Yeah, no, it was some really nice driving, and they showed respect to each other, which is what I always like to see in racing.
And just for your knowledge, Luke Pineg from the chat said as well, Jack did have the fuel for the extra lap. So he did have it covered. Like, we're thinking about 28 laps just in case. I'll tell you what, Jack Mara is actually down doing donuts on I
really like what Jack's been able to achieve there tonight, because he certainly wasn't the fastest guy on the road. He didn't have the ultimate pace of probably 3 or 4 other cars there, but mate, he's pulled off 2nd position in the race through some really smart driving, really working well, and that was a clever drive. Really good.
Looked after those tyres, I think, was the difference. As the fuel burned down, it got Dancy in the rear end, and I only saw him slide that thing once in those last 5 laps. Everyone around him was having a lot more moments, and it was the ability, the difference between him and everyone else was his ability to get on the brakes late and hard at 6. It nearly looked like he got on the brakes every time in there a little bit early, and then sort of phased off them, and then got on them hard again late.
Yeah, but he didn't lock up, and he was always in control. He's just that master of that extra yard under brakes every time. But I'm really surprised Phil Worley there. The way that the car really lost its grip, and you could see it was a bit of a beast, and Phil was really fighting it. And Phil's a great driver. You don't see him fighting a car and losing it and getting sideways. And the fact that he backed out and let those other 2 guys through said to me he had something serious. I think he must have been carrying some damage.
Yeah. Either way, respect. When he got out of there, sorry, excuse me, he got out of the way and let them head on, and that still shows respect to your fellow competitors, and that is always very, very important in terms of things. Right, we're going to start from the top end of the podium. Damon Woods was here in between the race break, and Damon, they kept it to you for a lot longer in that second race, 45 minutes around here. How are you feeling after what was not an easy race?
I was expecting them to stay with me this time. I knew that because it's a 45-minute race, they're not going to try and battle too hard and try and get track position. So I was expecting them to hold on to me for a while, but unfortunately, Caleb made a mistake in the last sector, and I was able to break the draft and ultimately pulled away from there.
In terms of things here tonight, mate, obviously nice and supreme, really cruisy. Is there something about coming to Germany and Hockenheim? We've talked tonight about the old layout, the new layout. The Porsche Experience Center's down there in the background as well. So is it something about Germany that's just a little bit more comfortable?
No, it's just another racetrack, to be honest. Just here to race and do as well as I can, pretty much.
In terms of qualifying, right back at the start of the night, how surprising was that when you looked up the timesheets and went, hang on, they're bang on. P1, P2 was identical lap times from your compatriot Ben Roberts.
Yeah, it was a bit surprising, but yeah, I knew exactly where I lost the time, completely botched the last sector, so yeah, it was only a little bit offline, and that's all it was. But yeah, it was close, but it's the kind of thing you expect from this kind of racing.
In terms of things now, the championship lead is starting to stretch. Round 6 is now in the books. There's obviously going to be 4 more rounds to the tail end of the season. Eyes are all set on that title at the end, I get the feeling.
Well, Caitlin missed tonight, which is unfortunate because we were having a good battle in the championship, but I'll miss the second last round at Road America because I've got my Year 12 valedictory, so he'll get one back on me, but I think to the rest of the field I've been able to extend the points lead, so theoretically it should go back to very similar to how it was before this round with Caitlin, but yeah, extending the championship lead is always nice.
How has been the year? Obviously, that's the first I've heard of what's managing a Year 12 study load. In terms of things this year, you've got Formula Ford commitments in real life. You're doing a ton of racing in the open wheelers. There's been other commitments. Practice, you've got to squeak it all in. That is such a big load in the last year of school.
I make it work, I just, kind of do the Monday night practice. I mean, for S5000, I put a bit more hours in because the car's a lot harder to drive. But for Formula Ford and F4, I just turn up on the Monday practice, build a setup. Or actually, F4, we put a little bit more in. But yeah, you just turn up and try and have a crack, and yeah.
And now your opportunities, mate, to thank all the sponsors that make it possible for you and the Door Esports team.
Oh yeah, as always, like to thank the boys at Door Esports, VRS, Recaro, JBL, Tailored Rig, Arima Sportswear, and SX Group, as well as the FRG boys for always putting on a stellar event.
Mate, congratulations, and tell Caleb that he's got to work harder, mate. He's got to stick with you a little bit longer next time, yeah?
Well, hopefully he doesn't get driven up the back of next race.
Have fun, brother. Good to see you again.
Cheers, man.
Dave, I believe you got our second place finisher and probably most exciting driver of the night, Jack Mara.
Hey, Jack, what a big night. What a great finish.
Oh, yeah, good to see you guys. Been a long time.
Yeah, mate, that was a very, very nice little performance there. As I said, I don't think you had the fastest car on the track, but you certainly got the most out of it.
Look, if there's one thing I've learned eating these beautiful new Snacky Chingy hot dog flavoured chips, pace isn't everything. Sometimes it's the finer details and the finer taste buds on the back of your tongue that really set yourself up for a good race. And we had that today. We had good, firm performance today.
Yeah, so a few of the guys, I don't know what was going with poor Phil Worley there, but it did look like he's either got a little bit of tyre degradation or whether carrying a bit of damage, but the car was a beast in front, and yours seemed to be sitting on the road pretty nicely. So I think there might have been a little bit of tyre management. Just don't drive it too hard.
Yeah, for sure. Car is very sensitive, I find, especially at the back. If you push too hard on the rear tyre, it's really hard to get good traction. So you're stuffed on the way into the corner and on the way out. So it makes it a bit of a mission. But yeah, look, just kind of held our own. I think having a bit of free air, clear air, during the middle portion of that race really helped out.
And so you finding yourself suffering a little bit in qualifying because you don't really have a partner to tow tow with a tow partner in qualifying and that sort of thing?
Yeah, but I honestly, like, a bit of practice wouldn't go on this either. It takes me the sprint, qualifying the sprint to figure things out, and then by race time, yeah, we're usually pretty good. So
Yeah, I do find that sometimes a tow is just trying to get a tow. You get distracted so much that you lose as much time as you gain. Sometimes you're better off just going, forget that. I just have a clean lap by myself and concentrate. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
I did try to get a tow and then quickly aborted that. Wasn't working. But happy to get that. That was actually surprisingly good quality. So we'll take that.
Yeah, mate. Excellent drive tonight. Thoroughly enjoyed watching it. Well deserved. Who'd you like to thank for it?
I thought you'd never ask, Dave. It's the Snacky Changy boys again.
I've left plenty of time for you, Jack, okay?
As you should. So the Snacky Changy team's just come back from the United States of the Americas, and look, they've come out with 3 new flavors, quite revolutionary in the chip game. And one of them is hot dog flavor. And look, when I first heard about it, I thought, boys, you're crazy. You're losing your marbles. And well, they've done it again, mate. The chips are stellar. Buzz Aldrin would be well happy with these, I'm sure. In fact, I think I can taste the moon on them. On a serious note, I want to thank all you fellas in the FRG crew. Love watching the streams back. It just sets the league apart. It's second to none. And also shout out to Scotty at Racetech. We've got Racetech stickers on the car these days. Pulling the hard deck, sorting out people's cars for the upcoming season, and it's good to have someone in the know joining the DSR team.
Beautiful. Well done, and we'll see you next week in Spa.
Yeah, you sure will. See you back on the podium.
Awesome. Hope so. And I'll hand it back to you, Scott, for you can cover third place here, and our Ben Roberts, who's had another great night by Ben. Probably the best one I've seen him had in a while.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a few moments. I think Ben Roberts qualifying obviously went very well. Race 1, not so well, and then race 3 from the rear of the field, just about 10th to 3rd in 45 minutes, mate. A little bit of luck went your way in race number 3, but then again, you sacrificed something at the end of race number 1, and you got it back in race number 2.
Yeah, it was surprising qualifying to get pole. I mean, I made a mistake on my lap as well. I had a bit of oversteer coming out of turn 8, and I was going to tell Damon before we were dragged in here that he got on Phil Worley's timing, he goes to 4 decimals, and apparently if it went to 4 decimals, Damon would have got pole, so that's something. Yeah, race 1 didn't go to plan, obviously. Everyone was just tried a bit too hard to sort of be the one in front. Second race, everyone sort of mostly sort of calmed down and figured it out. Pitting early for me was a plan right from the start, save a bit of fuel and try and undercut a few people, and I mean that's exactly what happened. So I was aiming for 4th, and to get 3rd is pretty good. I'll take it.
Mate, in terms of things, to obviously cut your way through the field and fuel save at the same time is never easy. It sort of puts yourself behind the 8 ball, but you know, some fuel saving, put yourself in the right positions. The guys around you obviously seem to struggle with those rear tyres, and we saw Phil falling off the backside of things. So I do want to say a big shout out to Phil, because obviously to cop that issue and a penalty, but then to sidestep everyone and just say, hey, I'm not in this, to let you guys have one. What was the talk like in the team at that point in time as well?
He had a tiny bit of damage from the incident with Caleb, so that's why he sort of bit off the pace. And I mean, I was struggling with rear tyres as well, just with temps, because there were some people with quite a bit of wing on it. So the VRS set for Hockenheim has quite a bit of wing on it. I had no wing at all, so I was struggling with the rears when I was trying to get past Jack at the end.
In terms of things now, that's a somewhat successful trip to Germany. Yeah, man, look, that racing was just phenomenal between yourself, between Jack, between that whole pack there at the end, and the respect level shown on the way through as well. This field is not easy, but at the same time, it's been made great racing by the guys around you.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess the other thing is, not really worried about the Drivers' Championship now. I mean, Damon's a bit too far in front. But you know, Phil and I we're still worried about teams points now, so that's what we're sort of focusing on. So, and looks like we've got a pretty comfy lead in that.
Mate, and, in terms of things, that was a phenomenal drive to watch and phenomenal drive to be a part of. Who makes it possible? The simrigs.com DPR team.
Yeah, big thanks to simrigs.com, Southwell Lifts and Hoist, Ben Max Mechanical, NP Designs as well, for all of their support with the team. Also, of course, big shout out to Race Stars and FOG for making this possible in the first place.
Mate, it's been a pleasure having you in here. That was a pleasure to watch. That was a pleasure to be a part of. Thank you very much, Ben Roberts. Have a lovely night.
No worries, boys.
And finally, Dave, that brings us to the end of our coverage here on the FRG side of things. Formula 4 has been a good change in scope of things. That's the first time I've actually been a part of that commentary team. And like I said, race a little bit of the cars on the sim. They're actually quite fun to go and handle. But
yeah, they always produce
good racing.
They always produce good racing. That's one thing the F4 is really good at, is producing good racing. And if there's something you're going to learn out of these cars, how to race well. Yeah, but they do. Every time we have them, there's good, close racing. And the car's pretty controllable and it's pretty predictable. So you tend to get that where they can race 2-3 abreast and get away with it because the car's very predictable. It doesn't have a sort of sudden bite slide or whatever and run wide and clump into somebody. So, it does produce really, really good racing, and it has again tonight. And we're in the first part of a double header. So next Tuesday night, F4s again, we're at Spa, the home of European motor racing. I call it my favourite circuit, one of my favourite circuits in the world. And these things around there, it will be an absolute slipstream fest. And they will be 3 and 4 abreast everywhere. Can't wait to see it.
Mate, that is going to be oval racing, albeit with right-hand turns next week. I can tell you just about wide track racing as well for the Formula 4s. That is going to be sick. I'm going to have to tune into that next Tuesday night. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure to bring you the coverage here tonight on behalf of Formula FRG Esports as well as Race Stars TV. I've been Scott Rankin. He's been David Roberts. Luke behind the scenes on the coverage. Thanks to our race control team as well. It's always a pleasure to be a part of them. Thanks to the drivers. Thanks to everyone who's participated. You in the chat and at home. The Formula 4 Esports Cup on behalf of Motorsports Australia. Bye for now. See you next week for coverage from Spa.